Welcome everybody. This is 5 minutes about photography and my name is Isabel Sierra. The Americans by Robert Frank in a post-war American photography. The book that changed the direction of the medium. There were only few television stations at that time and many radio stations, but visuals were limited. Frank's project began when he applied for a Guggenheim Foundation, then he traveled across America and took over 55,000 images. Today, we are lucky to discuss the book with two photographers, Peggy Nolan and Bill Maguire. They are both from South Florida. They are great artists and they are mentors of new generations of artists. So let's start by asking you. You were teenagers by the time the book went out. When did you see the Americans for the first time?
In 63, 64, something like that. And I had stayed at the university in Indiana instead of going home on a vacation. And it was cold winter and snow, and I was ambling around the deserted university library, this giant library, and just walking up and down the stacks. And I saw on the end of a book, The Americans. It was in the sociology section.
And in your case, Peggy?
Robert Frank's The Americans fell into my lap by accident. At the time, I was a lot more interested in another photographer named Imogen Cunningham, who photographed earlier than Frank, and was a little bit closer to my aesthetic of looking at my family and my kids and objects around the house. But as soon as I opened Robert Frank's The Americans, it made me change a lot of my thoughts about photography. And I would say that and perhaps the Diane Arbus monogram book have the most influence on me in thinking about the way pictures resonate and how they change over time.
Let's say you were asked to choose just one image. What would that be?
Okay, there is a picture of some old folks sitting on a bus bench, on two bus benches that are pushed together so that their backs are to each other, so everybody's in profile. And Frank is looking through them at cars whizzing by on the street. And so you have these profiles of very recognizable old folks, most likely totally retired, with lots of time on their hands, letting the time while away as they sit. And in the background is the street and cars whizzing by. The implication, I think, at the time was that, the modern world is whizzing by and these folks are not even paying attention. That car is a 1956 Buick, and the picture was taken either in 56 or 57. Now, in 2011, almost 2012, when we look at that picture, a lot of people do not understand the difference between the old car, which is old now, and the old folks. So the meaning of the picture is really radically changed.
And in your case?
My favorite is this one. It's this one where the flag hangs down from we don't know where. And the flag is so old and tattered that it's like gauze. It's transparent, translucent almost. We can see the trees right through the flag, and we see the patches on the edge of the flag. And then the other characters. On the lower left, we see this little boy who looks like he's about ready to set off some firecrackers. The little girls are just perfect with their little white outfits on and everything, and their balloons. But then on the lower right are the two men, the dads. And one of the things I always love about this photograph is this imprint of a wallet on the back left pocket of a man's jeans. And I don't know if that symbolizes American fatherhood as well as anything that I can think of.
There's a misconception about out of focus in Robert Frank. I mean, he liked to photograph in very challenging light situations, especially dark light, muddy light. When other photographers would see that there was no sun out, Robert Frank would look out the window and see that gray light and run for his camera. So he liked the muddy, gray, slightly depressing aura of what we might be called bad lighting. He also photographed indoors, and I don't think that he worried too much about whether the picture would come out or not. So he tried everything in order to get something.
I think it's splendid, a work of genius, you know.
Thank you both for joining 5 minutes about photography. This is all for today. We have been talking about The Americans by Robert Frank.